Hi guys, welcome back to another video on the channel, another Darktable video, and this one is inspired by a question from one of my Patreon members, Mike, Stunt Flyer. I am Mike, and basically Mike was asking me about sharpening in Darktable. Okay, so I've got this D300 shot of St Pancras Station. It's just a bit of a happy snap while we were standing on the road just outside it. What a gothic edifice it really is. I mean, it's so over the top, it's crazy. But as you can see, I've got another version of the image open over here, and this is the image opened up in raw Therapee. And I'm just going to sort of use this raw Therapee as a sort of a de facto standard. And if we come along and open this up, you can see it's just got the bog standard MyBase PP3 file attached to it. And if you go over into exposure, nothing on there. Details, nothing on there apart from noise reduction and defringe. Go over to colour. This is actually in, we haven't even bothered putting a custom DCP on this. This is just the auto matched camera profile that ships with raw Therapee. We've got nothing else on at all other than capture sharpening. If we take capture sharpening off, there we go, and we put it back on again, and you can see that the capture sharpening is at its defaults. Now, capture sharpening in raw Therapee, yeah, from when it first came in a dev build, I just thought it was stunning. I really did. And you know, I mean, what more could you ask for, really? So that's why we're going to use it as the sort of de facto standard, and keep it tucked away over here on the whoops-a-daisy, on the left hand side of the screen, when I can get me stuff to work right. And there we go, and we will just switch Darktable over. So there we go. So what I want to try and do is to make this image in Darktable look as sharp and as clean as this image over here in raw Therapee, and bring that back up to a one-to-one view. There we go. Right, so sharpening in Darktable. So if we come over to this tab here, which is the, what you call it, tab, the corrections tab, and I activate sharpening. Okay, so as you can see, it's sharpened it, and it's sharpened it up quite well at its default settings. And you know, I mean, is that the default settings? I don't think it is. That's default settings, sorry. With a radius of 2 and an amount of 0.5. Now, with me being a bit of a old fart, and having grown up with Photoshop since before it was called Photoshop, I sort of know how to sharpen images inside Photoshop. And there is a very, very simple way, if the image will cope with it, of using unsharp mask, which is what the Sharpen module in Darktable uses, and it is actually referred to as low radius large amount. And fundamentally what we do is we turn the radius all the way down and then turn the amount slider all the way up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just right click, and we get this flashing cursor, and I'm going to put 0.65, and there we go. So we're working with a radius of 0.65 and an amount of 2. This little threshold slider, just leave it alone, it doesn't really matter. It's basically stopping it from sharpening the jet blacks in the image, which, well, there aren't any, not really. So if we turn the sharpening off and we turn it back on, it's done a very good job. Now, there is a move over in the world of Darktable to actually decry this method of sharpening. And, you know, I mean, it is what it is. It's a very simple way of sharpening. And really and truly, is that not what we want? We want simple things. We don't want complicated things. Because as photographers, we haven't got time to really mess about with the 1001 sliders. And a lot of people just look upon some of the operations as monstrously complicated and a real steep learning curve. So, in general terms, that sort of sharpening works, even though a lot of people say it tends to blur a lot of your intermediate detail areas. So, you know, I mean, if you've got a noisy image and this method is actually blurring the noise in the sky, that's not necessarily a bloody bad thing, is it? But, you know, it is what it is. Let's see if we can take this up a little bit more, and let's go for 0.75. And there we go. And I mean, really and truly, that sharpness, if we look at this sort of fancy rosette type thing, Tudor rose or whatever, we compare it there to there, it's not really all that far out. The colour is slightly different, basically. What we would need to do is go and do a colour adjustment to this. But really and truly, just to make it more identical to this image. But, you know, I mean, well, not a lot to say really. But it does just go to show how we can get nice controllable sharpening with such a simple module. If we wanted to ensure that we weren't going to sharpen this blue sky, we could very easily just come in, go to the masking operations, just go to hue and just get this right hand side and take it all the way off the blues, bring it into the greens and then just push it back. So we've got a little slope there, so it's feathering off. And, you know, I mean, all we're doing is applying it to the actual colours and area of the image that we want sharpening, vis-a-vis that. So, you know, I mean, if you think it's a little bit too aggressive, leave the radius where it is and then just come and adjust the opacity. You see, if we take the opacity all the way off, we've now removed all the sharpening that we've just put on. And don't forget, you can just ease that up until you get it right where you want it, probably around about there, 65-68%, and that would do. Alrighty, so that's method one of sharpening. With unsharp mask, you're just using the bog standard Sharpen module over in the corrections tab. So let's turn that off and close the module down. And what else can we do to sharpen an image? Right, so we can go to Diffuse and Sharpen. Okie dokie, and I'll just reset that and then turn it on and open it up. And oh Jesus, I mean, for some people, this is, it's like trying to watch the movie Inception while you're stuck in the Matrix. I mean, well, there you go. But it does come, if you come to the little hamburger icon here, there's a load of presets. So what we could do is just try sharpness. Yeah, and that's done a pretty good job. it might be a little bit aggressive. We could actually change the number of iterations, but as you can see, this is just going to go mental. So you're probably best off just leaving it where it is, there. If you wanted to, you can see we've just started to build up some noise there in the blue. Again, really simple. Open up the masking panel, just come to our colour or hue slider for the mask, and let's make a parametric mask which removes all the sharpening from the blue. So really simple. Do what we did before, bring it down to about halfway across the greens and then just move it back a little bit, and therefore we've taken it all off the greens. Masking in Darktable on each and every module, or virtually each and every module, is your get out of jail free card. But you know, I mean, for some people they do still find masking in Darktable, including myself. Again, a little bit like trying to watch the movie Inception from inside the Matrix. Yeah, but you know, there you go. So we've removed the sharpening from the blue sky. You can also vary the amount of sharpening, don't forget, with the opacity slider, because you just regard every module adjustment that you make in here a little bit like a layer in Photoshop, and we all know we can change the opacity of a layer in Photoshop. Well, those of us that use Photoshop know this anyway, to vary the amount by which the adjustment is applied. We've got other aspects as well. Let's just put this opacity back up to 100%. We can, instead of using this sharpness, we can actually choose sharpen demosaicing. For crying out loud, this only, as far as I'm aware, only emulates capture sharpening over in raw therapy. Now, the capture sharpening, just as a bit of an aside, the capture sharpening in raw therapy, the main man behind it is Ingo Virak, and I do seem to remember, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty certain I'm not, that I did see many moons ago in a raw therapy forum discussion that it should be possible to port the capture sharpening in raw therapy over onto something they referred to as DT. Which I, seen as other people were talking about Darktable, I sort of took that as it is or should be possible to port the capture sharpening from raw therapy into Darktable. Now, I don't know, I'm not a coder, I don't understand any of this sort of stuff at all. To me, it's just meaningless garbage. All I'm interested in is what does it do to me pictures. So, you know, I mean, there you go. But the capture sharpening in raw therapy takes place quite close to demosaicing in the actual workflow pipe, and it is actually a derivative of RLD convolution sharpening, not unsharp mask. Okay. Now, what sharpen demosaicing AA filter and no AA filter, whether they are derivatives of sort of variables of unsharp mask or RLD convolution, I don't know. I just do not know, and frankly, I don't care. But we can switch from sharpness to demosaicing AA filter, and you can see that is quite aggressive. Or we could switch to demosaicing no AA filter, which isn't quite so aggressive. And obviously, yeah, these order speeds, these are basically wavelet levels. And if you move them to the left, it makes the wavelet sets go sharper, and if you move them to the right, it makes them go diffused. So, you know, anisotropy, yeah, okay. No idea. And you've got edge sensitivity and edge controls, but honestly you might as well just use the presets. And again, you know, we can come in here and we can take it off the blue sky, dead simple, just like that. Take it off the blue sky, and we can also vary its strength by turning it right off or bringing it up to a level where we find it acceptable. And you know, it is what it is. So that's your second method of sharpening, any one of the three presets in the Diffuse and Sharpen module. Okay, so let's now deactivate all that, so we're back where we started, and I'm going to try this one here, Contrast Equalizer, which, especially for landscapes, I am right at this minute finding this a little bit more, how can I put it, a little bit more successful. So I'm going to activate the Contrast Equalizer, and this is where things get a bit complicated. Edges, I don't understand it. I have read the Darktable manual till I'm blue in the face, and it just still won't stick in my brain. Chroma, again, that won't stick, but Luma, well, yeah, I can get my head around Luma. So if you hover over this little chart here, again, these are levels within your picture, and with your scroll wheel on your mouse, you see you can make your, if you like, your brush, you can make it big. It's not a brush, but you can make the cursor and the effect you're going to have be more widespread by making the circle larger, or if we scroll down, we can make it very small. Now, you can't see this very well because I haven't set the fonts up to have the proper size, but this is to do with going contrasty, this is to do with going smooth, and if you think about it, sharpening is just edge contrast. So really and truly, when you sharpen anything, you are sharpening fine detail, edge contrast. So we've got coarse detail over here, and we've got fine detail over here. So with the smallest level of effect possible from that circle, in other words, you're trying to really keep this adjustment going on the fine detail and nowhere else. If we just click and drag up, wow, look at that for sharpening. That's a bit something else, isn't it? And so this is why I'm sort of liking this. And when you move your mouse, your cursor just sort of follows and does all sorts of weird things. And again, we can come down to masking, and we can take that off the blue sky, just come into the greens from the cyans, just back that bottom slider back off so you get a little tiny ramp there, and then we can vary the opacity from no effect, and we can dial it right up to where we want it, which would be around about there probably. I'm just trying to gauge this against that, and I don't think we're too far off. So there you go. Those are the three basic fundamental methods of sharpening in Darktable. And you know, if it wasn't for the fact that we could tailor things so well by using the masking panel, both in terms of parametric masks, drawn masks if we needed to, so we could actually just go and paint this on wherever we wanted it. I mean, I would be lost. So there you go. Hope you found that useful, guys. Hope you found it interesting. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, keep taking the pictures, and I'll see you soon. Tooroo.